Okay. Steve isn't coming?
Maybe he's running late.
Okay. Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. August 7th, 2023, Selectmen Board of... we're gonna start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. In an effort to, for the folks at home that can hear us, I recommend anybody who comes up to talk at the table try to speak clearly into the mic and as close as they can so they can hear us at home. I guess we're still having issues with audio. That being said, I'd like to just take a moment and thank everybody that had put together the first night out for the police on last week. Yeah, they went off without a hitch. It was a great opportunity for the community to come together, and all the different departments within the community came together to make it an exciting evening, despite an election that was going on. And as far as the election, all the workers, thank you for the hard work and dedication that you have put forth to ensure that the election ran smoothly. Dawn, the moderator, did a fabulous job on maintaining order and so on. We're going to roll right into approving the minutes. I understand there's going to be a correction made. I guess Cindy Bloom will edit hers to state that the department was not able to get, this is concerning the police department. The department was not able to get funding for some equipment. They didn't get the grant request subtitle in a timely manner, and they didn't get the funding. So she asked the board to make sure that the grant request submitted in a timely manner.
Does it say what date the meeting was?
July 17th.
July 17th. And there's additional edits throughout the document that are suggested?
For Cindy?
No, just in general.
Geez, I got a couple.
I don't think they start until page 6. Or there is one on page 1. Nothing of content, it's all grammatical and spelling.
I see some crossouts, line 220.
It's doubled.
On the back, spelling, Mrs. Sarof's name and Dolph. Bam. That's on July 17th. Was there any others that I missed on that one? Line 250A. Okay. And then on July 10th, looks like on line 100, looks like IM was crossed out. Miss White is anticipating a quote to install a camera system in the fire station. Oh, and then on line 117, has been crossed out to have. Line 124, again, have been crossed out with has. Line 28, E has been dropped. Line 163. Come back to has been replaced with return to. Line 156. Chief Curry was replaced, the last name was replaced with Sylvia. Line 230. Add in available in the meeting packet. Berry Road was misspelled. Line 236, that needs to be fixed, crossed out, method to clean out the resulting blockage. This is on Berry Road. Line 239, installation by the town hall. Line 256, Garrier Drive, not Gary Drive. Line 251, Doug Cummings, last name was spelled, been corrected. 277, statement in the packet which is attached, and then down below it says, check out Doug Bates' blog. That's on line 279. And these are all edits. So, was there another one, Ellen, or was that just those two?
No, it was just those two. I
Okay.
didn't see any edits made to the
So
July 26th.
The edits that were suggested here, has everybody looked at those, and any comments?
The only other one, it's not in here, but July 17th, line 63, I think it should say, Miss White received a quote, not I.
Sorry, what line was it?
Line 63,
The beginning of
action item 3.
Any others?
In my town report, under general correspondence, the backside of page 2, there was, or actually there was an email that was inserted in your packets from Jay Vilshock. He had requested some corrections to the minutes and attachments into the record. However, the attachments that he included to be added into the record, they weren't presented to the board. It was everything that he had added into his statement, so not all of the items that he included were addressed, so I wasn't sure if he wanted to include those as he's requested.
He didn't submit everything, though.
Right. Yes, you actually didn't receive anything that he had presented.
So how,
Nothing that was presented into the record, therefore I
so how are we to make,
bring it out there.
nothing was presented to us, so we can't make corrections, so. All right. Do we need to redo these vote?
You can make a motion to accept them as amended.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of July 10th, July 17th, and do we have the 26th in my packet?
You should, it's just a single sheet.
Yes, I do. And July 16th as amended.
Could you, I'm gonna abstain from July 10th, since I was not there. But so if we do that one
Okay.
separately.
And I would have to sustain from the. No, I was there on that one. Oh, yep, that's fine. We have a second?
So he actually said.
Can you-
I'll abstain from the 26th because I didn't go either.
So can we do them separately?
So let's do the 10th and the 17th. as amended.
No,
No,
do,
he still wants to do it
yeah,
separately.
because I was not at the July 10th meeting, so if you
Oh.
can just make a motion for the 10th, please.
We'll make a motion for the 10th.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes on the 10th as amended. All in order, roll call.
Aye, Steve Welch.
Aye, Ben Bartlett.
Abstain, Tim DeBrio.
I'm Matt Sherlin.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of July 17th as amended.
Second.
Okay. Motion was made by Steve Welch, seconded by Tim DeBrio. All in favor?
Aye, Steve Welch.
I abstained.
Aye, Tim DeBrio.
I'm Matt Sherlin.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of Wednesday, July 26th.
I'll second.
The motion made by Steve Welch, seconded by Tim DeBrio. Roll call.
Abstain, Steve Welch.
Aye, Ben Bartlett.
Aye, Tim DeBrio. I don't think we have a quorum.
Nope. You weren't here either, Matt, huh?
We'll wait for the next meeting.
All right, so table that until next meeting. Thought it was going a little too smooth.
How about we making a motion to approve the manifest of accounts payable?
Okay.
Do we want to do them one at a time?
Floor is yours, sir.
724.87 in payroll of 725 and 88.
I'll second.
A motion made by Steve Welch, seconded by Matt Sherlin. Roll call.
Aye, Steve Welch.
Aye, Ben Bartlett.
Aye, Tim DeBrio.
I'm Matt Sherlin.
Okay, unanimous. Okay. Reports from assigned boards. Budget hasn't met yet, have they?
No, they
That's
don't
coming up.
September.
Planning?
John's not here.
John's not here. CIP has not met. Marston?
No, we have not met.
No, Marston has not met. Okay, that's quick. Town administrator report.
Jim Twombly has asked to close Church Street on August 15th for a car club that coincides with the cruise night at Liar's Paradise. This has happened in the past. I'm just putting it forward to you for consideration. I did check with Fawn, and she had no reservations to it. So are you in favor of the temporary road closure? And if so, we can make sure that we can put some advance notification on the town's website, put out a Nixle alert.
Just for a couple hours that night, essentially.
That's
August 15th. Yep. Next Tuesday.
I'm good with it.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yep.
Rolling Thunder's donated POWMIA Chair of Honor. I reached out to the library to see if they could dedicate a spot to have this memorial chair on display. Trustees had a number of concerns, with the top ones being, one, the library has a lot of little ones in and out, so there's high potential for damage, and two, they're already very limited on space, like we are. They don't have a spot for it that would tick all the boxes of keeping it safe, being out of the way, enough to prevent people from sitting on it, especially small children, and also to be a place of honor. So I've looked around the town hall here, suggest that we either locate it within the confines of this conference room so that it can get some visibility. So that would be option one, or to keep it in its present temporary location, which is in the administration office. I can arrange for a rope barrier, certificate, and flags to be placed in its proximity. So my question is where would you like to see this chair of honor permanently placed, and how soon would you like to schedule a official dedication ceremony for it?
Would the town clerk's office receive more? I know it's probably
It would
Not just
probably
as tight.
receive more. I looked around, I was actually over at Gill Stadium in Manchester last weekend, and there's one in place there, right in the stadium.
yeah.
It's just somewhere where it can get some recognition.
I would So I would suggest that if it gets more visibility there, I would think more traffic. But also, if we're talking about renovating, is maybe we build something around, consider that when we're, if we decide to renovate this
Yeah, if we're
conference
gonna
room.
go to that back room,
Exactly. Build something.
set it up a little bit better.
I like that.
So, if-
Temporary, but keep it in town hall for now,
And
town
then hold
clerk's
off
office.
on an official
Yeah.
dedication until we can find a permanent home?
Yeah.
Okay,
Don't wanna really just shove it in a corner and forget about it.
Right.
because- But it's tough.
well, I think probably in the meantime, what I'll do is I'll at least get the flags and the plaque and just where it is now. And just give it some type of a showcase, but we'll wait on the dedication ceremony until it has the
Yeah.
permanent home, okay? And to follow up on the quotes from Alarm System Plus to install the camera system, I did reach out and given all the camera systems that we've been installing lately, they did reduce the cost from $3,800 to $2,800, so I just wanted to check and see if you would be in favor of moving forward with the total to be expended from the Building Maintenance Expendable Trust Fund as I had originally proposed.
Yeah, I think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I believe the camera install started last week up at the fire station, and it's continuing on between that and the lock change out, so. I checked with, Matt Curry on Friday, and it was still in progress at that point, so I don't think they've completely wrapped up, but it is ongoing. For the fourth item, the previous highway foreman solicited bids to replace the dry hydrant on Kennard Road, since it's not a project the highway department can take on. It was something that was originally proposed to have them do, but, the pond would need to be drained down. We need a little bit more than they're able to provide for us, so he reached out to 4 contractors and received a total of 4 quotes, all in excess of $10,000. According to our purchasing policy, a project of this size should go out for sealed bids. So my question is do you want to waive the requirement of the purchasing policy and make an award from the quotes received, or should the project go out as a new request for proposals?
Are these the proposals here?
They're in the very back, correct?
Location again?
Kennard Road?
So if it goes out again, they all come in about 10,000. And how long of a period of time do you have to give?
We should probably give it about 2 weeks of advertising.
Okay.
And we are narrowing down, so it would be a fall project at this point, but it does need to be completed at some point. It's been a little while.
I would say put it out again for a bid. And then come
But what
back.
if we put it out to, and this, I'm just thinking out loud here, if we put it out to bid, and as you just mentioned, it's gonna put us in October. A lot of contractors get booked up early. I'm worried that we may miss an opportunity, to correct something that needs to be done. Otherwise, it'll wait till next year. What are the repercussions of waiting until next year? Should,
Is it usable?
yeah,
It's
Is-
not right now.
It's not
it's
usable?
not.
Okay. Cause some of these are very different. Some of them, they're providing all of the aggregate. One of these here, which is a higher one, says the town will supply all aggregate materials and pipe needed, so they're just digging the ground.
I think when Matt had originally put out the request, Matt Hicken that is, he had said that if it would help, the town could haul and supply the aggregate material needed,
Okay,
just to keep the cost of the project down. So I think there was only one that included it in there and said that they could make adjustments at the end of the project.
yeah, like this one from, Farrell Construction, they budgeted in moving it, but it says if the town provides material, then it will lower the price of the job. So we have being greater than 10,000, we have to put it back out, or the fact, I thought we have 4 bids here, it's worth,
Well, technically, according to the purchasing policy, anything over $10,000 or more should be a sealed bid process.
a sealed bid process, okay. Yeah, they came in at 10.7, so just over.
Put it back out.
Yeah, policy says put
Yeah.
it back up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe just a shorter window. I don't know what is required, try to keep it tight, but I mean, by our meeting process anyway, I don't know how quickly we'd move through it, so.
Okay.
If they could get us something in, does their sealed bid process tell a timeline, or could we try to get the bids in?
Well, what I'll try
By
to.
Friday before our next meeting?
I was gonna say, well, even, you know, by close of day, Monday of the meeting, because if they're sealed, you're gonna be opening them during the meeting, so
Yes.
that will give them almost 2 weeks.
Yep.
Okay.
That's more than enough, and just, if we let these people know, I'm sure they'll just put their bid back in.
Okay, so I will put that on the agenda to open on whatever Monday that is, 21st?
Yes.
Thank you, Steve. All right, so our part-time cleaner got done at the end of July. We've had a temporary commercial cleaning company in here, but it's not a permanent solution. So I advertised help wanted for both a part-time cleaner / janitor, ran it simultaneously with a request for proposals for cleaning the town hall and the police department. I received a couple of applications, some from far away, thinking it was Nottingham, England. So other than that, I didn't really have anybody that really showed a lot of commercial cleaning experience. So I did get 3 proposals from commercial cleaning companies. S&J Services came in at $34,176 a year. Innovation Cleaning Services was $27,000 a year, and Citywide Facility Solutions was $28,200 per year. So in my request, I put that I would like the town hall cleaned at least 3 times per week, the police department probably 4, just because they have a lot of activity 24/7. I took a look at the existing budget that we have for cleaning when we had it as a part-time employee. With the wages and applicable insurances, it was running about $28,000 a year. And then we're also buying the supplies. So to bring in a commercial cleaning company, most of them come equipped with their equipment as well as the cleaning supplies. So we would have some cost savings there. I would like to try to move forward with Citywide Facility Solutions, and the reason being they're not the lowest bidder. However, they come with a lot of other resources. They're pretty much capable to do what we're looking for from the facilities committee, as far as like if they came in, if we wanted a room painted, they have contractors on hand where they can have them come in, put a bid out on it and outsource it for us. So it does give us some ability to be able to expand our services by utilizing them. They also have a local area rep that's right here dedicated to the Seacoast that checks in once a week. Just to make sure that the cleaning is being done to our specifications and to see if there's any other issues that we might have or additional services. So I would like to proceed with contracting with Citywide Facility Solutions to clean the town hall and police department. Would you be in favor?
Would that include, like I know we talked about, like waxing and buffing the floors, does that?
We do have that, so those would be a custom project that we could have them do, and that is an option, yes.
Okay. Separate cost. I wanna get one for you now.
Right. But I mean, that's a service that I would look at having done once, I don't know when it was last done, but
Yeah.
at least once a year, maybe semi-annually if it really got a lot of
Just the main.
rundown, but, yeah.
Now, you said 3 times for this side and 4 times for the other, are they gonna come every day of a week, or when they do
Nope.
3 times here,
What I
they'll
was
be over
thinking
there as
about for
well?
here, where we're open Monday through Friday, I was thinking service on this side, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. And then over there, it would just be adding in maybe another, like Friday or,
Okay.
And I did request that it be done after hours, and by after hours, it would be after 5 PM and before we open around 8:30 in the morning.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Need a motion?
Now, how, just quickly on this, are we proceeding, what type of a contract are we looking at? Would it be a year contract, or are we gonna do it month by month?
How-
Or,
I can leave that up to you. I think we
just
can,
if are we still gonna try to hire somebody in? Just like if you get an applicant, like we approve this and then next week you
But
get
if they're,
another applicant.
they're supplying all the,
well, I closed the help wanted
You
for
closed
the
that.
part-time the same day. They were both closed today at noon. So, I mean, we can investigate that if the right person comes forward. One of the things that I did request is some type of a CJIS certification for the police department especially, because somebody's not always over there 24/7, so you need somebody that can be around, police documents. And so that was one of the things that I was lacking from applicants that were applying. I had one that was probably very well certified. They already work in a very high security environment, but they backed out this morning, so.
Okay. Right, I mean, probably at least do it for the remainder of this year till the budget season, or, does that make
And
sense?
yeah, it's still less than what we're paying before.
Okay.
What's the name of this company?
Is Citywide Facility Solutions.
Right, I'll make a motion to provide a contract to Citywide Facility Solutions to clean the town hall and police department through the remainder of the 23 fiscal year. Do you want to say? 20, is that good? 23 fiscal year? Is that bind us good? Alright.
Do they require an annual contract, or they're,
I have to, well, they did give me a draft agreement, but I was gonna put it through legal if you were ready to move forward with it.
I think a year contract would be just suffice,
A 1-year contract?
just to start, just to see how they are, and then we can move, if we like their services, move to a 3-year or whatever, or we get somebody else,
Sure.
so.
Alright.
Steve?
I'll second that, I'm fine with that.
So to clarify, my motion is to approve Citywide Facility Solutions for a 1-year contract
Yep.
to clean the town hall and police department.
I'll second.
A motion made by Matt Sherlin, seconded by Tim DeBrio. Roll call.
Aye, Steve Welch.
Ivan Bartlett,
Hi, Tim DeBrio.
I'm Matt Sherlin.
unanimous.
All right, so I'll just finish up my last action item, and then I'll do the department updates after your appointments. Following the meeting schedule, the first and third Monday each month, September 4th is a scheduled meeting day, but it's also the Labor Day holiday. Do you want to schedule an alternative meeting date?
I think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
So September's a short month, so you could either schedule for the following Monday, do back-to-back on the 11th and 18th.
Are you, members of the board, okay with back-to-back?
Yeah,
Steve?
it's better to do that than to try to move it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna try to be away that week, so.
Yeah. Works
Yeah,
for
I'm
me.
good with that.
Okay.
So September 11th, thank you.
Is that a national holiday, by the way?
Which one?
September 11th, it's 9/11.
It's not a,
It's not a federal holiday.
correct. There's observances, but there's no day off.
Banks are open, everything is open still, I believe, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. So you're gonna finish the rest of this after we do our 7 o'clock meeting?
Yes.
Great.
Mr. Jackman? You are ready to go, sir.
Good. Let me sit here so I can be close to the mic. My name's John Jackman, and I'm the asset management consultant. I'll have to get
Bring it
closer
right
to
into,
it.
so they can hear you at home.
Okay. Hello, I'm John Jackman. I'm the asset management consultant that the town had hired for doing this asset management project. This project started, quite a while ago. So and this is the agenda that I'm going to be going over and talk about the asset management program that's provided by the state, the inventory of the horizontal assets, which are the culverts, condition assessment, maintenance, valuation and capital, level of service, criticality of assets, and public outreach. That was really basically the scope of our asset management project. And to start off, basically the town voted under a warrant article probably 2.5 years ago to borrow the $30,000 for the asset management program. It's a loan, but it's a principal forgiveness loan. So that means at the end of this project, and if we have met all the requirements that the New Hampshire DES requires, that this loan, principal loan, will be forgiven. And basically they would have paid for this program. I also wanted to, I'm jumping in, it kind of threw me off when I didn't get the thing, but I also wanted to thank the select board, the town manager, for allowing me to speak today. I also want to put a shout out to the staff that I worked with over this time period. They were excellent. They put a lot of effort in. I monitored them almost, I would hate to say every day, but I monitored them quite a bit to make sure that they were doing the program, and they were very successful. Every person at the Public Works participated in the program and contributed to the program. I had concerns when we had first the town manager leaving, if there was going to be support. There was. And then when the Public Works director left, was the knowledge deep enough within the organization to maintain and keep the program going? And it was. There wasn't a hiccup. So I really wanted a shout out to all the staff for maintaining and keeping this program going as strong as it is. I also want to give a shout out to the New Hampshire DES for their financial support for this program, as well as technical support. So at the end of my presentation, Katie Zink from the New Hampshire DES would like to come up and also say a few words. But this is how this whole program started, and the community voted to go forward with this, and I want to thank the support of the community on that vote. We started off doing an inventory of the culverts throughout the town, and as you know, this town is quite a large landmass, and they ended up voting a couple times, adding a few more roads to the town roads, which made the project bigger as we went along. But we went out and we GPS'd every culvert. We got probably 97% of them, both public and private, throughout the city. The reason why we put a lot of effort into this is having a good base map is really what is going to help the staff be able to manage their assets by understanding what they own and what they don't own. So what we did was we wanted to make sure that the staff had access to this data. They needed to be able to have it out in the field and everything else. On the left-hand side is a zoomed in Google Maps, and everything's in Google Maps. And you click on a drain culvert, the data that pops up is the diameter of the pipe, the material of the pipe, the length of the pipe, what watershed it belongs to, the year installed, the street that it's on. So there's a lot of other information in there as well, but this is the information that is needed for maintaining an asset management program. On the right, you can see I zoomed out, and I didn't really zoom out all the way because Nottingham's actually bigger than that, but you can see where all the culverts are throughout the whole town. And a lot of those are right on top of each other, so there's a very high cluster. But the guys were great. They were able to go out in the field, utilize their tablets, which was paid for by the grant, and walk along and be able to actually find culverts that they were not aware of that existed. So it was a very good use of the staff being able to understand what's out there.
Should that title be portable devices?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there, you might see more grammar, issues, yeah. Yeah. So one of the things that we actually developed for the men, and actually it's for administration as well, was we wanted to develop a work order system. And we wanted a work order system where they could actually do condition assessment of culverts and some bridge structures as well. But we didn't want it to be just storm drain. So I worked with the staff, and what we did was we developed a work order system so that they could include their roads, plowing, recycling, vehicle maintenance, special events. So we basically had worked through and developed a work order for each and every one of those type of assets. And by doing that, it made it much more usable for their staff. It wasn't, we use this for stormwater and then we have nothing else for anything else. So that was a big selling point. They have customized this work order form. So not only are they utilizing it, but they also understand how to update it, develop it, put in new things. When they were doing culvert inspections, I had only put in 2 photographs before and 2 photographs after that. They wanted 4 photographs. So they were able to actually update the form so they can actually add additional information to their work order forms. They were able to, as you assign a work order, is emailed to the staff person of who it's assigned to, so whoever the operator is. So they were able to add additional staff and understand how to develop those forms so that they were sent out. So that's a big learning curve for almost any organization. And there's a lot of organizations that I know that are much larger than you guys that have not been able to keep this up the way that you have in Nottingham. You can see over the year, they had over 1,140 work orders. So they have a lot of data. And when it goes into a database, it goes into a Google Sheet, and those have forms so you can see how many work orders are assigned to each person. You can look at storm drains, how many work orders on storm drains, roads, and other projects. And I think vehicles is probably one of your highest ones that we have work orders on. So that is one of the ways that they're able to actually capture information. And as climate changes, this is where you're going to go to get information on what happened, and it will be the most current information. One of the things that they also have been doing is when they do the work order, they're also actually, when they do the maintenance, they're capturing the invoices, the cost, and everything else. So they're starting to develop a life cycle cost analysis for the assets. And normally that takes years, and it will take years, but they are starting that process and capturing that information. And as that data is analyzed, they'll be able to correct and make better data, but they need data to be able to improve to start the program. And they have done a great job on this. So one of the things we also do is we have all the information from the GIS. We have the material, the diameter, the length of all the culverts. We're able to actually sit down. We utilize an asset management worksheet. In that worksheet, it also helps develop risk and assessment. So Nottingham has over 17,000 feet of culverts that they own. That's not even counting the private ones. And the private ones are driveways. So if you see a driveway culvert, the town doesn't own that. But these are the ones that they do own. They own over 400 culverts altogether. The total present value cost of replacing those culverts is $5.2 million. And that isn't really looking at your bridge culverts, the ones that are really large. I could not put values to those because I wouldn't even guess correctly. So that gives you an idea of what you have for resource of your culverts out in the system. We also looked at which ones should be replaced or which ones meet the criteria of being replaced. And it shows that you have currently $1 million in deficit of culvert investment. That means that there are culverts that should have been replaced before 2023. And what we do is we then look at those culverts and say, yeah, they're good enough, they can last another 10 years, and that allows them to expand, or it's not a critical culvert, or there's redundancy. So there's ways now you can go out and the staff can evaluate those culverts to see if they really need to be replaced or not, but it allows them the ability to focus where they need to do further condition assessment. One of the things I want to thank the select board, but in March 20th this year, they approved a mission statement for the public works. And that's one of the requirements of developing a level of service is what is your mission? So by developing that mission, it helps with the guys knowing what your goals are along with, what their goals are. So again, I want to thank you for developing that mission statement. We had a workshop as well, and we sat down with all the staff to develop a level of service workshop. I tried some new things with them. We went back to the matrix. The matrix is probably the easiest way. So in the report that you have, this level of service works matrix is in there and available to you. We utilize the EPA SMART system, which is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. That's what the requirements of the EPA for any types of assets that they're looking at. So we utilize that same format. What we do as, is we make it smarter. So the feeling is that this is a way of measuring your level of service, and then at the end of each year, how well did you do? You evaluate, and then you reassess. So in other words, if you're not meeting a level of service, there might be a reason. It could be that you lost staff. It could be that equipment broke down and stuff like that. So if you're not meeting that level of service, then you can make a choice. You can lower your level of service and say, oh, now we're meeting it, and that's okay. And the other option is, well, if we need that piece of equipment to maintain this level of service and the public expect that level of service, they'll probably support it. So, there's ways of utilizing this level of service, but it also allows the staff to understand what your expectations are. So if you go through and you look at these level of service, or you want to add some, it's a dynamic report. The goal is that you make it your own. And you want to make sure that you have the staff to support and the equipment. and financial budget. So these are all tied together. Criticality, as the staff has kind of learned what kind of criticality is, but it's still something that is always developed. And in the manual, I have a lot of information on how you do risk and develop risk. And understanding that it's not just the consequence of failure times the likelihood of failure. But in this matrix here, those are the only two things that we're looking at. So I wanted to try and keep it simple for the presentation, but it allows you to understand if you have assets in low risk, more than likely, you know, you're just maintaining. You just keep the maintenance and get that going. If you have something that has a high consequence of failure, so another big impact to the town, financially, socially, environmentally, well, maybe we need to make sure that the maintenance and everything is kept on that and is aggressive. So this just gives you an idea of if an asset falls in a certain place, you know, how do you change your perspective to that particular asset? So this is one of the criticalities. Right now, there is a risk factor developed for all of your culverts, but because this is really kind of a top-down evaluation, it's really based on years, materials, and diameter, you know, and locations. So it's not a real detailed risk analysis, but it starts, you know, it starts that way. And that's how you end up communicating to the board. When you talk to the board, the staff can say this is a high risk factor and then why it is a high risk factor. It helps with you to supporting the staff. We also had a public outreach, and one of the things that the guys thought would be important for a public outreach is to actually have a map with the culverts showing which ones are publicly owned by the town and which ones are privately owned. So as new people come in, they understand that their driveway culvert is really an easement to their property across the town property. So the culvert themselves is part of their easement, and they're responsible for maintaining their own culverts. So, you know, that's one of the things that, again, reaching out because, you know, that helps with the public understanding. The other one is Japanese knotweed, understanding that it's an invasive plant and that basically how it impacts drainage throughout the town, along the roads and everything else. I know currently you have a knotweed program and it's been very successful, and really having some outreach helps support that budget going forward. So what I've kind of done is gone around the circle, and that's really what asset management is you go around, you do it once, and you keep on doing, and you keep on going around. You keep on updating your inventory. You keep on doing your condition assessment, your maintenance life cycle. It just goes on and on and on. So really what I'm saying is that we started a program and met, you know, the requirements. Hopefully Katie will feel that we met the requirements of the state. And that's where we kind of turn it over to you. So one of the things that, you know, I do want to offer is when you do have a new public works director, I'd be willing to spend a few hours with them, help go over what you have and everything else. And, you know, I'd like to see the program stay on good footing going forward. So at this point, I'd like to have Katie Zink from the New Hampshire DES come up and say a few words.
Hi, Katie Zink, New Hampshire DES. I just want to echo a few things that John said. So this program is a state revolving fund loan program through Clean Water, and it so this is for the stormwater program. this is a carrot. This is basically, we want to give this $30,000 to promote asset management. You guys have already taken it a little bit further than just stormwater. But it really, as John said, it goes around in a circle. We expect you to keep on this program, and John put together a great, we kind of call it a final report, but it's really more of a manual, how-to manual. So it does seem like you guys have a lot of turnover, but we're hopeful that using that manual and continually using this practice, you'll be able to keep your asset management, and therefore, you know, when your DPW needs to come to you for funds, they'll have really good reasoning behind why they need that, and it will help everybody to better fund your stormwater program. Your employees at the DPW were excellent throughout this whole process. They were incredibly engaged at our level of service workshop. A lot of times John has to do a lot of the work, but these gentlemen had really great ideas and were really engaged in the process. They, including asking for more equipment, they said, can we get another tablet? I think they got a laptop instead of a tablet. And I don't think your internet is super great out here. In some places you can upload automatically and it makes things super fast, and they had to do some workarounds, but they're still really engaged in the program, which was really great to see. And then basically I really want to make sure you guys continue to use the program, and I think that that will happen. So if you continue to use your program and you are seeing issues with additional stormwater issues, there is another program within the state Clean Water State Revolving Fund, and it's called the Planning Loan Fund, and it is $100,000 currently, with $100,000 up to $100,000 principal forgiveness. So if you have a project that you're seeing, you know, we have this big issue and, you know, we're not sure how to tackle it, then we encourage you to come into the program. And actually, because you've done asset management, you kind of get some extra points when you apply. That is a competitive process, but there's also just the state revolving fund program for implementation as well. Usually that only has about 10% principal forgiveness. Not as good, but it is a low interest loan. So I encourage you to continue using the state for, you know, financial gains. And I'll leave it open to you if you have questions for me or John.
So with the tablets, how many tablets do they have?
They have one tablet
One tablet.
and one laptop.
And do they travel around with a laptop? I mean, or with the tablets rather, so they can make notes when they're.
The tablet has cell service.
Yeah.
The first year was covered by the state grant, and then after that, it needs to switch over to the town cell service.
Okay.
It was actually very handy. I used it when I took my roads tour after I started here, and just to be able to see how many of them there actually are. It's a very nice tool.
Any questions from? Okay.
I have one other question.
Okay,
You
go.
mentioned it also covers the recycling center. Like, can you say more about what part of
The
the
work order program?
Yeah.
Work order?
As far as just the equipment at the recycling center, do you mean, or?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
You know, I set it up.
That's okay, I
and
can-
we just run with it, you know, it's
Okay.
like snow plowing, you know?
Yeah.
When they collect snow plowing, whose route, and then all town, all roads, boom. Cause they select which roads they're working on and everything.
Okay.
So it's the reason why I went with a PowerPoint presentation, cause I wasn't going to. This morning I woke up and I was very nervous, cause I was afraid that if I got into what their actual program is, 3 hours later, you'd be like, time's up.
Yeah.
Because it's really very exciting.
Got one question out here.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you mentioned about, the private versus public culverts.
Yeah.
And the maintenance of, especially thinking of the private culverts.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's new to me because it seems,
Well, I think it's new to the whole town.
okay.
And I think that's
So, like,
why
how that
the
works.
staff wanted to start getting that education out there. You know, and it's not new to a lot of communities. But I did find in Nottingham, it was fairly new. Even when I was walking around, and doing the GIS, a lot of the residents say, that's the town culvert. And I would say, well, it's really your easement. And when you get a driveway easement, you put a culvert in, and that culvert is part of your driveway.
And I understand that. My question is about the maintenance.
The maintenance that actually, even talking with the town guys, last fall and the spring, they were out there maintaining the, private ones as well, and, you know, I'm like, yeah, you know, it's hard for them to just say, no, we're not gonna do it. But they were out there, they were flushing the culverts that were along the roads and stuff like that, and, it's, you know, I think when it gets tighter and tighter, that's when they'll probably try and push more and more of that responsibility onto the home.
I have a driveway.
Yep.
And there's a culvert.
Yep.
Under my driveway, is a town culvert or private culvert?
It should be a private culvert, and I marked it down as private culvert, because it's part of your road driveway easement.
So if that gets trouble, I have to fix it.
Yes.
But the culvert is there because there's a stream.
There's a stream.
The town stream.
Right, but if your driveway wasn't there, they would have an open ditch, right?
So there's criteria on what is a private driveway and a private culvert.
Right. Oh, there is, yes. And it's pretty clear in most communities. I may have stirred something up. Well, I want to thank you, before anyone else.
Thank you, John, appreciate it.
You're fine.
There we go.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bassett?
Response. He does not have a copy of the response because I didn't get a consensus from the board to release it, so anything that you disclose to him tonight is going to be new news. So in your packet is, Susan's responses to his questions. There was a total of 5.
Can we give it to him now, the consensus of the board?
What's that?
You can, no, not, you can't give this.
Well, not that, but,
Yeah, the top sheet I can give him mine if need be.
okay. Board okay with that?
Yep.
Okay.
That's just the insert.
That's the top page. That was the one
She
that was.
just has her one statement, but. Suggest something. Just wanted to quickly. I think it's good to hand over as is. Right, this part. She summarized her further answers on like page 3 onto page 1, correct? Probably just, I mean, that last statement is not really.
Yeah, I took the bottom one off here. Or I can email it, however you choose.
They might wanna review this, they might want this, and then they might have to come back with more, so you get a chance to digest.
the survey plan?
Yeah.
To question 3.
To question 2, the end of the second paragraph. Each would need to look at individually.
So Plan 623 is the one that's recorded at the Registry of Deeds. That's going to be the plan of record.
Okay.
So I think what they're saying is no matter what the plan of record was, we adopted to accept the roads as where they are, not where they could have been, or where they were in 1950, but where they are today. Am I wrong in saying that?
Certainly by the date of the warrant article, something happened.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Bassett, 101 Shore Drive.
Thank you.
And,
Jim Franklin, Franklin Associates.
okay. Questions, comments? When did we get this back, Alan? 24th?
Originally July 13th, that was the one that you reviewed in non-public session at the last meeting.
Okay.
And then the summary was provided on July 24th.
I don't want to be wasting Mr. Bassett's time here if we are not prepared to go over this. So if we are not prepared, we will table this until next time, but I encourage the board to review this prior to the next meeting.
I would, and I don't know if John can provide more when he gets back, but I believe he was trying to get all of his questions answered and how this is going to fall into the planning board's questions and authority.
And he is a very,
Right, and then it
important
was gonna
piece of
come
the
back
puzzle
to
here.
us. It was kind of a hot potato thing, right, as we moved it forward as to like, you wanted to at least have the answer streamlined, so when you present it to the planning board shouldn't be able to say, well, you gotta get this answer resolved by the select board. Still, her answers in here do not like provide a definitive answer on how to move forward with.
To be honest, I was not planning on going to the planning board,
Not directly, yes, I mean,
because there's no subdivision, this is just a land and road survey. So I know what I got, and then in the future, I would do
correct,
planning board activities.
correct.
And we could come back in 2 weeks. If
Do we need to?
that's what the board prefers, and that makes sense to me.
What are you actually looking to, I mean, these 4 questions are what you're looking for an answer to?
Yes, and that helps, speaking for you, Jim, it helps you complete the survey so that there are little to no questions when it goes to the registry and gets registered. That's sort of the whole idea. A little time now saves me a lot of dollars later. Sorry, Jim.
Copy of that? Jim?
Is that available for us to decipher? Assuming it's public record.
Do you want me to provide the summary? Can I email it to you,
If the
Kevin?
rest of the board is okay with that,
That's fine?
yep.
That would be great.
Yes.
And that way, if you have additional questions that come out of the responses, then we can address those as well.
Yes? You can get a copy, yes?
Yes, you're gonna email it to me?
Oh, good, excellent, excellent.
Tomorrow, or the next day, or the next day, or the next day?
Sometime
This
before 2
evening.
weeks. Yeah. Yeah, okay, good, thank you.
Very good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
You look at it.
Do you wanna finish the town administrator report, or?
Sure. General correspondence that's been received, I have 2 emails that need to be addressed. First one is from Jay Vilchok, 7/28/2023, informing you there's a petition in circulation. Just questioning if there's any response warranted for that.
I don't believe there is, it just seems to be a knowledge item on his part.
Okay, the second email was from 7/31/2023. There's a multitude of questions that he's asked, requesting response. Would you like me to provide response and then, or at least draft a response and then circulate it for individual comment before it gets officially sent?
Yeah, if you're willing.
Informational, the following statement was issued by the New Hampshire Division of Parks and Rec regarding the expansion of Pawtuckaway State Park. Issued August 4th, 2023, the Division of Parks and Recreation, after careful consideration and thought, has decided to redirect the Federal American Rescue Plan funds appropriated to Pawtuckaway State Park. The project scope will include a new dump station to service recreational vehicles camping in the park and to renovate toilet buildings on Horse and Big Island. The renovations to the toilet building will include interior renovations, upgrade to utilities, and shower addition where feasible. The division will not be pursuing construction of additional campsites. Design and engineering for these projects continue, and construction is expected to begin in the fall of 2024. Just wanted to put that into the record because it impacts many, and it sounds like voices were heard. For the Fire and Rescue Department, the graphics for the new ambulance have been approved, and we're on track for a late October to early November delivery. There's a photo included in the packet. Anybody like to see our new ambulance? It's pretty, it's red, shiny.
As long as you don't call her, take care of us.
The police department, National Night Out was a huge success. Assistance was provided by the rec department, fire department, and library. Many great comments have come in from the event, with hope for many more to be hosted in the future. The police department was infiltrated by a critter. It got up into an inaccessible portion of their ceiling and perished. I had Abundant Wildlife out here last week. They completed a perimeter check, found at least 3 points of entry around the exterior of the building. These access points will be closed, but there remains the issue of a deteriorating carcass in our ceiling. We'll have to cut the ceiling to remove any remains, since it's been a little over 2 weeks and we still have an odor. So it's not anything that I would expect anybody to bear, especially our police officers. I don't. I can only imagine it's a squirrel variety. It's definitely bigger than a mouse.
You gonna fingerprint it or anything like that?
No, it's left behind maggots. Sam LeMay's doing well with her training, and they do have an active help wanted posting for a full-time officer, just
So
to
you're
put
going
that out
for
there.
that critter, is it in the, air vent?
It is not in the air vent. Clarence came out and he ran his camera up. He could only get so far, but we actually determined that where we're getting some residual, we think that it's actually, there's a beam that runs the length of the building. So like if you look, their ceiling's recessed up a little bit, and then it drops down by that side entry to the foyer. We think it's on the inaccessible side of the wooden beam that runs down, so it's gonna have to require a hole in the ceiling. But
It's still strange to me
It
that
is
how
very
strong
strange.
it smells.
I know, and
It's
I
coming-
almost
the
didn't
smell's
believe
coming
it,
from
and I
the
went
place,
over
just
there
doesn't
this
seem
morning,
to-
and you could still smell it, so it's,
So that's why I was asking if it was in the health impact is what I'm concerned with,
Yeah.
breathing a dead carcass.
For the recreation department, the summer program's in its final week. It's been very successful. The aftercare program is already full. They're waitlisting. The department was actively involved in the success of National Night Out. Flag football starts in September and will be hosted at Marston. For the highway department, the MAC repair has been completed. This is the one that we had an insurance claim from the wing accident. It's ready for pickup from Coastal Truck tomorrow. So we will have all of our fleet back on site.
Does that include the 550?
Yes, the 550 is back.
Awesome.
Brandon Talent has confirmed roadside mowing, and it will commence as soon as the weather and his schedule permits. The roads earmarked include Ledge Farm, Poor Farm, Garish, Stevens Hill, Freeman Hall, and Kennard. Highland Ave drainage project has been completed, and the final inspection took place last Thursday. It does require, Highland Ave itself requires some reshaping to redirect the stormwater to the eastern roadside swale, the swale ditch for additional capacity, and some shaping along the western road edge to prevent stormwater from flowing down the driveway. This work is going to be completed with the highway crew.
Where's that?
Highland Ave.
Thank you.
And additionally, there was a driveway that we had to cut into, so we have to do a pavement patch when we have R&D out here to do their paving project. We're gonna see if it's something that they can fit in. We just don't have the ability to do it. All vehicles except for the one returning from Coastal tomorrow have passed state inspection, which is due in September. We got them done early. Brian put a good effort into making sure that those were done before they were due.
Good.
At the recycling center, the landfill was mowed on July 21st, part of our annual landfill closure requirements. Selectman Dabrio and I met with Bonnie Bethune from NRRA at the recycling center on Friday, July 28th. We did a facility walkthrough. She's going to be providing us with a report containing some feedback on increased productivity and operation, also some other suggestions from other facilities that they have visited around the state. They're probably the most knowledgeable of all. Statistics.
passionate.
She is very passionate. She's been in it, she's worked in it, and now she just thrives on sharing her knowledge. Her name is Bonnie Bethune. She works for Northeast Resource Recovery Association. They're everything recycling for the state of New Hampshire. So statistics on Nottingham's activities through NRA is attached. It's pretty much everything that we've recycled through their program and the revenues that have been generated. The F-350 is back from being repaired, and it was inspected at the same time. We did have some additional issues with it between the emergency brakes and having the rear passenger side tire lock up while it was in for the other service. So that came with a nice hefty repair bill, but it's now roadworthy and safe to haul our aluminum cans as needed. And that is all I have to report for this week.
Can Coastal Truck not do the state inspection?
I don't know if they do state inspections. They're a repair shop, so.
Yeah, they're like a body,
We
body.
can
They
just
don't-
take it to Allen's like we do
Yeah.
the rest.
I will say one thing with Bonnie's visit is she was extremely impressed with how the center was running. Like, she was, which, she looked at it, she's like, this is beautiful.
Yes.
I know, and some of us that go to the recycling center might not think that, but in her eyes, the
I
center,
guess the amount of facilities she has to look at, I guess.
she said the way things are running, the way they're doing things, she didn't see anything glaring that, oh my gosh, you guys should be doing this different. It was, and she got to see a live cardboard load, which is
Yes.
exciting for all of us.
And she commented on how well the bales were baled,
Yeah.
whether it was cardboard or the plastics, so.
They're all labeled with how much they weighed and stuff, so.
Okay.
And the staff
One
was
thing that's
very,
going right.
the staff was very approachable, and they all introduced themselves to her, and yeah, I thought that was great.
Well, thank you, Tim, and Alan for going out there with them.
It was quite the learning experience.
Sure it was. All right. After action items review from last meeting. Some extra Street, sand pit, gas, yeah, where are we at with that?
There's a list of answers that Fawn provided to you that
So,
take care of all the questions that
what
you
was-
addressed.
I thought this was a no-brainer from the meeting before, that we were gonna move forward with this. What happened?
There was questions about whether it needed to be on a concrete pad, whether we were meeting EPA standards, whether there's appropriate lighting over there for after hours. There was a whole laundry list of items that were presented after we thought we were okay with proceeding, so Fawn,
It wasn't that we weren't okay with it, we just wanted some additional, like, we're buying the cube, but then by the time we get it there, and then like, how did this expand out? What were we really getting ourselves into? Were we taking on significant other costs associated with it? And then it sounds like she's able to,
Okay.
What are you talking about?
it's a gas cube, 500-gallon gas cube that we're talking about putting in over at Smoke Street.
For the, my gas.
Yes.
Diesel, right.
Right. And just, you know, for further consideration, I understand that we had a direct lightning strike in the vicinity of Flyers and their pumps actually went down, I think it was on Friday. So it's a case in point example as to where this would be beneficial.
Thank you for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
I think that is crucial.
On top of the cost savings for
Yes.
the fuel itself. We're encroaching
So-
$4 a gallon again.
If I, again, refresh my memory here, they're supplying the tank,
Correct,
all we're doing is buying the fuel.
correct.
We're purchasing the tank.
We're purchasing the
We're
tank,
purchasing the
yes.
tank?
Fine.
Yes, that was part of the original
Supplying it
quote.
Well,
for a cost.
Meaning that the same company which we're buying it from, we're gonna be using the fuel. Hartman's, was it?
Yes,
Correct. I do think at some point, we need to put a cement slab down to fuel upon. If there's ever a spill, at least it'd be contained on a cement slab and not in a gravel pit that you have to possibly excavate. Does it need to be done immediately? No, but it should be out there for something that we should do.
I think it does say that they are double-walled cube tanks.
Well, I'm not worried about the tank itself leaking, I'm worried about
Oh, yeah,
when somebody's filling their cruiser or whatever vehicle, that, you know, the nozzle doesn't click out or whatever, and now there's a fuel spill. The way it is now, it goes directly into the gravel.
I think that is something we can look at later. I don't think we should be
Right,
using to
that's
hold
what
up
I'm
the
saying.
tank. I mean, especially where it's, you know, it does not, the EPA and state doesn't require it for now. I mean, but yes, that's a good point down the road. But I don't think that should hold up getting it.
No, there was just some questions about like how the electricity was gonna work, and were there any other questions? And it's a double wall tank, so that answers that. I was just asking a few other questions before.
Right, I think we were concerned about security, Navy, but
Yep, that was addressed.
And
So it's-
then, lighting, and we could add an additional light. I know she has the ones in the car, but it's just making sure, you know, an officer getting out and trips on something.
we could put one on that white shed easy enough, that's where the
Yeah.
power
Yeah.
source is, so we can just do a, motion sensor
Somebody coming
spotlight.
to work from like Dover, and then they pull into like a normal gas station, and here we're like, go down this facility in this dark gravel pit, and there's a gas tank in the back, trust us, fill it your ground there. It's better than that, that's what I just wanted to make sure.
It sounds like the questions have been answered.
Yeah,
So, is the board ready to move forward with it?
and this was going to come out of the,
Well, it was suggested by Fawn that she could probably support it out of the police department budget, but I look at it as having more impact by other departments as
Yes.
well. We can use it for highways, so this would be a, purchase that I would like you to consider out of the ARPA funds that we have left.
Can we pull half and
We
half
can
from
try.
highway and police?
because it could even be Courtney's rec department van, like, I mean,
Thirds out of each? I just don't wanna be spending all of the ARPA funds. We got
Understood.
so many other things we got going on in town that could be used towards that.
yeah.
You know, here's a situation where we can have other, like you just pointed out, other departments are gonna be using it, so they can all pitch in their budgets to, you know, purchase this and put it up.
Okay.
it could be at least 50/50. I mean, Courtney's, I don't know how often they fill up the van. It might not be that frequent
Yeah.
to go all the way over, but.
To the town beach and back.
Right.
Well, they were using the van quite a bit on the first night, but, you know, and I do
I
see them.
mean, we'll also consider it for the fuel consumption when we fill. I mean, it's going to be, we're gonna be able to tell who's utilizing it, so
Right.
we can expend the
Yep.
fuel consumption out of the respective budgets. So maybe that's more appropriate for rec, and then just to consider it for the police and highway as
Yeah.
far as the initial.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right.
So we're moving forward with this.
We have to approve it.
All right. I just wanna make sure we're in agreement
I
before
don't
we.
remember what the initial cost, I don't see
I just-
that kicked in here.
If we don't have to hang on to this, just move forward.
All right, who has their old folder info?
John is usually the only one that keeps it.
What was it, 80? I thought it was like around 8,800, wasn't it?
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Hold on, let's go back to the minutes.
Dun, 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 dun.
17.
Wait, those are body worn cameras.
This says we went over the 17th, but it didn't put the cost in here. But we can make a motion to approve for the amount that was submitted by Chief Woodman.
Department of Oil.
Correct.
Now to be paid out of
Split between the highway and the police department
It was
budget.
8,500.
8,500. There you go. Who wants to make a motion?
Yeah. So what do you wanna do, half of it from highway and half of it from police?
I believe.
Yes.
Yes. So I make a motion to approve the $8,500 expenditure, 50% from the highway department budget, 50% from the police department budget for the gasoline holding tank over at the smoke street pit.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Tim Baribio, second by Matt Sherlin. Roll call.
Aye, Steve Welch.
Aye, Ben Bartlett.
Aye, Tim DeBrio.
I'm not sure.
Unanimous.
Okay, Laura,
Hmm?
how much money?
85.
8,500.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, town hall.
Well, there's other things here too. We got, yeah, town hall, oil tanks, new playground equipment, recreation department space needs.
For the recreation department space needs, just to go to the end of the list, I ask that you table that for tonight. What
Okay.
I would like to do is, gather up the rest of the information from Courtney and put that out for proposals for consideration.
Okay.
I think we're at the point where it's going to be considered for a warrant article inclusion, at least for the portion to renovate our side of the space. I just don't see us having the funds to do it this year.
Okay.
So we'll see if the voters would like to do
And
that.
the playground equipment?
Playground equipment, Courtney has ordered the new playground set. She went with the middle one. So that is scheduled for delivery here in October. We had a couple of recommendations that came in. Doug Bates presented one, and I also met with Clarence at National Night Out. They were talking about taking the broken tube and turning it 180 degrees so that the crack is to the top to be able to continue to utilize it. I had concern just for the liability standpoint, just if a little one's fingers got pinched up there. I know that we can try to patch it. But the other thing that Courtney and I had discussed is possibly just taking that tube out, closing off the sides of the structure and just being able to kind of like repurpose those into the new playground equipment as like a standalone structure. There's a couple of options out there. But with your approval, she did move forward with getting the new piece of equipment. It is going to open up to a higher age group, where this is more or less for preschool age group. I think this one's approved for like 2 to 5 year old, and I think the one that she chose is an expanded, I think it's up to like 11 years old, so. I think it's up to 11.
Which
I don't have the brochure with me, but it was a expanded age group.
is 14, 15-year-olds on that one as it is, so.
Maybe that's
Probably
why
why
it's
it's in the
correct.
conditions.
All right, and then the, town hall oil tanks?
And I'm just looking for some guidance from you, where you want to go. I mean, do you want me to research the cost to have it removed, to see if it's feasible to do it this year?
I thought we had voted to table it until next year,
Yeah.
last meeting.
Was it? Maybe, I think we tabled it, but I
Oh, I
wasn't
thought
sure
we
if
had
there was a
voted to
defined
move it
period.
to
Well-
next year.
We thought that they were not going to fail this year, we were gonna have to have, you know, a good plan moving forward and then budget.
Is this
it
With the amount of money
one
that
of the
we had
projects we
voted.
use ARPA for?
What?
I think that was a suggestion from John Scruton when he originally proposed it to you.
But given the amount of money that we had voted on to expend at the last meeting, we had decided to wait until next year.
I don't remember if it was ARPA money or the.
Yeah, it might have been the building
It
maintenance.
was in the building,
Expendable trust fund.
that one, and that which was, took a.
Okay, so
It's,
I will,
it's safe for right now, right?
Yes, it was just needs to be on the radar, it needs to be into the
So-
next couple of years.
Like Tim had mentioned, I'd prefer to put it off till next year.
okay. Well, in the meantime, I can do preliminary, research to find out how much it's gonna cost to remove it and get the new one set. So we can
Spend a lot of
consider
money
it
as
for
it
the
is,
budget
yeah.
cycle.
You might wanna, hate to bring this up, but maybe we should look at if these furnaces that we just put in would be convertible to propane. Now, when we put a propane tank, we can bury it in the ground and never have to worry about it again. Versus trying to find a spot to put oil tanks. Not the biggest, hugest fan of propane, I should be, but I still like my oil. But because of logistics,
Right, it was gonna be the addition of a large
it might be worth looking at.
shed thing on the front to hold the oil.
Because if we can convert it to propane, then it's just a matter of digging up that oil tank, make sure the ground's non-contaminated, and we can drop a propane tank in the same hole and forget about it. Well, if we have the clearance there. There are some clearance issues, but
I don't think you're the lead man for this.
I think that's a discussion we could have when we're actually ready to, do something about the tanks. Would you be in agreement with that?
I'm good with that.
Okay.
Skip has his hand raised.
Go ahead, Skip.
I'm just wondering if the fuel cell down at the gravel pit is also gonna be in the ground, is that why it's a fuel cell?
It's a above-ground fuel cube.
Okay.
Yep, it is movable.
That's the trend. Everything is coming above ground unless you're a gas station,
I knew
but,
when I heard fuel cell, I just thought maybe that was the term to put it in the ground.
okay. I think we've beaten that up. Assessing. We have, timber abatement, land use. Does everybody have an opportunity to look those over? Any questions? Somebody like to make a motion, starting with the timber tax?
Sure, I can make a motion to approve the timber yield tax for, map 15, lot 1-7, and map 6, lot 16.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Steve Welch, seconded by Tim DeBrio. Roll call.
Aye, Steve Welch.
I, Ben Bartlett.
Aye, Tim DeBrio.
I'm not sure.
Unanimous. Non-abatement?
Make a motion to approve the abatement on map 7, lot 1-N.
Second.
Motion made by Steve Welch, seconded by Tim DeBrio. Roll call.
Aye, Steve Welch.
I, Ben Bartlett.
Aye, Tim DeBrio.
I'm not sure.
Okay, unanimous. Land use change tax.
Make a motion to approve the land use change tax on map 6, lot 16.
Second.
Motion made by Steve Welch, seconded by Tim DeBrio. Roll call.
Aye, Steve Welch.
I, Ben Bartlett.
Aye, Tim DeBrio.
I'm not sure.
Okay, unanimous, that takes care of assessing. General business, Arthur Fernal Trust Fund.
Jeez. What's that?
You wanna give us a quick rundown on this, Ellen?
Like the divorce. Amicable divorce.
This came up, I met with the trustees of the trust fund at their last meeting, and what they have in their custody is a $3,500 gift made to the towns of Nottingham and Northwood from the Arthur Fernald Fund. It's a charitable trust. It has been deemed by New Hampshire Constitution, New Hampshire laws, that it is discriminatory and in violation. The will states that the money can only be given to Protestant children. So the trustees would like to actively move forward with taking this fund out of their custody, so it would require us to get legal counsel involved to file.
I didn't think people still did that.
The
Last page, file a side-press petition.
Cypress petition with the Merrimack County Probate Court to remove Nottingham trustees of the trust fund as administrators of this fund with the balance of assets to be divided in accordance with Mr. Fernal's will. We request that half of the fund balance be given to New Hampshire Council of Churches and the other half be given to Granite YMCA's. These organizations are the closest match to those named in Mr. Fernald's will. Both organizations have programs aligned with his wishes. So it is up to you to direct me to forward this to the town's attorney to continue with filing the Cypress petition.
What's the rest of the board feel about it? I'd support it.
Yeah, I read through it, I think it makes sense.
And I will say that
There's really no other
I will
thing.
say that the trustees actively tried to get, Northwood on board so that we could kind of take care of it all at once, and they've been unsuccessful in coming to terms, so
Okay,
we'll move forward and take care of it on our end.
it is what it is, I guess.
Okay.
Okay, you don't need a motion for that or any? No, all right. Review action items for next meeting. Anything?
Just have to follow up with Mr. Bassett.
Bassett, yep. You think, oh no, she's gonna wait, right? Recreation Department space needs.
Yes.
Okay.
Did we need to approve these?
You did them.
We did all four? I thought we did three.
Two timber, one abatement, one land use change tax. It was
Yeah, we
only
did
two.
three.
It was three motions because one contained two.
That's what it was.
So all we have is Bassett, or was there anything else?
That's it.
Steve?
Anything else you need to bring forward?
I can't think of anything at this time. I'm sure there is, and I'm sure there will be.
Just update us on the critter thing when you can. Obviously, we wanna take that,
We don't, do we usually feel like we shouldn't have to wait 2 weeks to get just,
Well, we had, Bodette came here because we originally thought it was up in the ventilation, so he put his camera up there. He was actually gonna cut a section of it out upstairs from the police department and see if he could isolate it that way, and then we discovered that there was residual coming out of other areas in the ceiling as well, so we weren't necessarily convinced that it's within the ductwork. We think it's just somewhere in the vicinity.
okay. I'm just saying, like, it seemed that this has been 2 weeks they've been dealing with this.
yeah.
Well,
guess.
yeah,
Just surprised for it to get to us after 2 weeks.
How big is this
you
camera?
haven't met for 2 weeks, so,
I didn't think
this
we
is
needed
new.
How big is this camera?
no, you don't.
Okay.
Suppose you could just drill a hole and slide his camera through and,
Quite possibly.
I got a pretty non-invasive hole.
The air ducts, they're not compromised, or are they?
From what Clarence could see, he wasn't sure. He thought that if it was on the inner side where you can't actually see
Okay, okay. All right,
the part that's up against that wonderful wooden beam.
all right. If there's no other business, I will open it up to public comments. Is there any other business for the board? No?
I don't have anything.
Okay, I do know that there's 3 individuals in the crowd here that would like to come up and speak. Kathy's, if you like to be the first.
Kathy Sinfo, 23 Little River Road. In October of 2021, every longtime employee and one previous employee working on the Highway Department and at the recycling center submitted written complaints against the former DPW director, who had only been on the payroll for 3 years. The employees were ignored. In an attempt to support the workers, a formal complaint listing complaints recorded by the workers was signed by 37 residents and submitted via certified mail. The complaints were considerable and included conduct, inappropriate behavior and language, illegal actions, vehicle damage, and waste of taxpayer funds. The answer was the institution of a couple of Band-Aids, and the rest would be looked into. The employees were not interviewed or acknowledged in any way by the administrator or the select board members. As a result, most of them quit. We lost all but one of our employees who had experience, knowledge, and certification for the task they accomplished. The majority of them are residents and taxpayers of Nottingham and were accountable to their friends and neighbors, and as such, the best employees a municipality can hope for. Assumedly, the employees' reputations were drawn through the mud too, because some have reapplied for the open positions since the director left, but they were not hired. Now we have supervisors that have served the town for many years, combined total over 40. They're well-known and appreciated by the residents. They too are residents and taxpayers. They have successfully run and I would say built the fire department that we are proud of. They have both dedicated a huge amount of time to our community because they care about Nottingham and her residents. New employees appear on the scene and complain, and the town administration takes drastic action that results in the termination of the supervisors. The Vilchucks have run the fire department and provided services for this town for years with minimum complaints, and suddenly they are supposedly the reason there's unrest in the fire department? How long do you suppose these new people will stay? If they have no ties to Nottingham and are serious about their careers, they will get the experience and the training, and then they'll move to a job where there's more action. At any rate, things just don't add up, do they? How can one supervisor with minimum experience be totally protected, no investigation, just cover-up, when the other, with many years of experience, known and respected by a huge percentage of the town, is crucified and not believed at all, even when he denies the charges? His explanations are pretty much dismissed. Shouldn't the select board be talking to the employees on either side of a disagreement before just deciding who is telling the truth? What happened to the directive to respect all employees as professionals? How can they do that if they haven't even spoken to them? Even worse, the persons being catered to are not the longtime workers, residents, and taxpayers who have an interest in Nottingham. It seems that the previous permanent town administrator did away with the practice of having each select person responsible to check on a department once or twice a month, to talk to the employees and the supervisor, to gauge the atmosphere in each department and to make sure all was well, and if the department needed anything. The select board is supposedly responsible for hiring and firing of employees And in these later years, the select board personnel have never even spoken to some of the employees. Something is definitely broken here in Nottingham. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Mark Carpenter? And Gary Anderson?
Mark Carpenter, Gile Road, former selectman. Not too many years ago, I was sitting in that seat, and Kathy came to talk to me too, and it had to do with the recycling center, and we turned that into a very positive thing that she was very, very much involved in, and part of the result is the comments that you just made about how well run it is and how well organized it is. It was a multi-month project that happened, and it was because we did have liaisons from the Board of Selectmen to each department. And so there was a lot of interactivity and a lot of conversations that were going on constantly. And so we knew who the people were, we knew what their capabilities were, we knew what they could bring to the table, and we were able to bring the community together. And so I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm saying this as a way to support what Kathy just said, and perhaps, you know, you guys can take that into consideration. But that's not why I'm here. How many of you knew Charlie Brown?
Very well.
You knew Charlie Brown very well. How about you guys? Did you know Charlie?
I knew of him, but not.
You knew of him?
Yes.
Let me tell you about Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown was a town administrator here for 13 years. Charlie Brown was one of the two people that my wife and I first met when we moved into town in 2007. The first one was Bill Garnett, who was a tax collector. He made me laugh when we met him at Demons. Made me laugh, made my wife laugh. We walked out of that store, and driving to our new home, we said, geez, this might be a great place to live. Then we met Charlie. Not too many people will greet you the way that Charlie would greet you. You came into this building, you were welcomed. You were welcomed with a big smile, a great handshake, right? How are you? Spend time with you. Charlie knew this town inside and out. Charlie was a lifelong resident, a Vietnam veteran. He passed away on June 30th. I think that it's really important that we take a moment and take some actions to honor the people who create the environment that we find ourselves living in. Nottingham is an awesome town, not without its conflicts, not without its unrest, as you all know. But it's filled with wonderful people, you know, from generations past that created the culture that we have here. When I ran for selectman, it was to honor that culture. It wasn't because I had some kind of an agenda. I had no, in fact, I publicly stated I have no agenda. I just wanted to be part of what was going on, and I wanted to continue that legacy. I worked with Charlie from 2012 to 2014 when he retired. I would come in here every Wednesday and have office hours, so he and I would get a lot of time to spend together. And the project that Charlie was most passionate about and was most pleased with himself about had to do with the Marston property. You see, the Marston property had gotten tied up in a whole thing with the state. And Gary's going to talk about that because he was a selectman when Charlie started it. Charlie was able to find a way to get that property cleaned up without it costing the town a lot of money, and to get it back onto our docket so that we could do something with it, because he wanted to have a property that we could have a community center in. And so, Gary, do you want to talk a little bit about what you saw Charlie doing?
Yeah, well, so I began on the board in 2008, and at that time, Charlie had already been working on, well, looking at tax implications regarding Marston Field, now known as that. Soon after I was on the board, we had taken the deed for that property, and now it was, oh, okay, now what do we do with it? And we knew there was a lot of work to go into that property, and the biggest one being cleanup, because there were a lot of problems with whatever had been sitting in the barn over there.
Engines.
Yeah.
In the ground. Tanks in the ground, automobiles buried in the ground.
So Charlie worked with the state, probably before I even was involved, to start a cleanup. So there were test pits, test wells, etc., that Charlie was working on the whole time. But while I was on the board, we, as a board, just, well, okay, what could this be? And at that time, well, we thought a ball field. We knew that we were cramped here for space for, what our growing population of children is and has become still now. So anyway, we watched it to slowly turn around and actually become what it is, a ball field. And so Charlie had a lot to do with that and was really a great guy to work with. That was really when I started to get to know him, and he always made me laugh. He's just a great guy. But anyway, go ahead, Mark.
So Marston would not exist if not for Charlie Brown. Simply would not exist. He was the proudest I ever seen him. The day that he could come to the board and say that it had been resolved and we owned it and it was free and clear. You know how Charlie was humble, right? He wouldn't really show his emotions very much, would he?
He would not.
No, he would not. But man, the sparkle in his eyes, and you knew he was going to have a good night that night, because he was sitting in your seat and he was telling us how it was free and clear, and now we're ready to go. Now let's figure out something to do with it. So I'm here tonight to honor Charlie Brown. And I am making a proposal that this town consider renaming Marston Fields to Brown Fields in his honor.
I think it would be a good idea, personally. I don't know about the rest of the board.
I know that there was some talks on the previous board that we attempted to try to change the name of Marston Field, because there was a lot of controversy, as you pointed out, surrounding it. We talked about changing it to Minute Field and so on, but the board finally rested on the current name that's there. And that was, not even 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe it might warrant some more discussion. Obviously, I think, Mr. Brown has contributed quite a bit to this community, and I don't want that to go unnoticed.
Mm-hmm.
The little bit I do know of Mr. Brown, he was a stand-up citizen, and he loved his community.
May I pass on a suggestion
Yeah.
from Courtney?
Yeah.
She had mirrored the thoughts that, the decision was on Marston. We have the signage that's not in place yet, but she had stated that, maybe you could consider naming the ball fields after him, or dedicating them to him. That could be an option.
And I think Courtney much appreciates what Charlie Brown, the work that Charlie Brown put into everything that came out of that. So, yeah. And it's still developing. It's not over yet.
I would ask the board to really reconsider that. Having multiple names there may cause confusion, and the statement you just made, I think there is a lot of citizens still remaining in this town that would stand up and cheer on renaming that property Brownfields. I think that it would be great to get other, other community input on it.
Okay.
We have the option to poll for survey. We can
Yep.
post it right to the town's website,
Yep.
get some feedback.
Is that,
Was it
Yep.
an option back when you?
that wasn't even a consideration? Well, Charlie Brown was still,
That's true, but I didn't know, like, yeah, you wouldn't really kind of.
so we'll start with that.
You wanna start with that?
Yeah. Is that,
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
You take action. Please consider me a resource, to the
Absolutely.
extent that I can help out. And also I'd say to all you guys, to the extent that I may have any kind of previous knowledge or experience, I am an open book. I think you've seen me on Facebook be
Yep.
kind of an open book. I am an open book. I want this community to come back together. It's been kind of torn apart a little bit. There's a lot of things going on, but, to the extent that I can be helpful, please don't hesitate to contact me.
thank you, Ms. Governor.
Thanks for the background information, Marston.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Should we have a moment of silence in Charlie's name?
Absolutely, yes.
And maybe a prayer from our fire department chaplain?
Yeah.
Yes, God, you know that Charlie loved this community, loved people in it. And so we just take this moment now to remember him. And we thank you, God, that you have placed him where he is now with you. Amen.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Gary. Skip? You're good? Are there any other public comments? One more?
I know you talking about rec and your meeting room, so I just was able to give Courtney a little input, so she expects to be in touch with Ellen and
Okay.
shortly, and so some help there, I hope.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah. Real quick though, Gary, I'd really like to commend you on your work you've done on the facilities committee, along with the other board members that are on there, Charlotte Fife and who else is on the board?
There's 5 of us.
The 5 of us. So please pass on our, thankfulness for their ability to and willingness to step up and
So, and regarding that, I know the board's been patient. And
Yeah.
we've been at the point of a final report and suggestions, and so we're trying to put it all just so for
Yep.
all of you. So I hope it's only weeks away. And
yeah. Well, we appreciate your hard work and dedication. Thanks. Okay. Go ahead, Skip.
Skip Severance, 340 Stage Road. I also wanted to add that Charlie Brown was also a selectman in town.
Yes.
As you mentioned. And I'm hoping we can utilize his whole name if you're looking at doing that, because Brownfields, I think, is kind of like a waste dump. And I don't think that should be the way it is. Charlie Brown Fields or something like that.
Point taken. Thank you, Skip. If there's no other public, yes.
Stephen Soroff, 32 Dolph Dam Road. This is an unabashed advertisement for 3 things. Number 1 is the last of the summer concert series is Tuesday night. It's been posted, that's coming up. And the big event is on Sunday, August 13th, at the Nottingham Square and the schoolhouse. The Historic Society is having its annual pancake breakfast. We expect all the selectmen there. We're not gonna do a dunk tank this year, so you can all come, you're safe this year. And
Thank you, Steve.
So that's 8 to 10:30 at the square. And in the afternoon, at 3 to 5 at the community church, there's a Nottingham Got Talent with some very interesting, neat local talent. So I invite everyone in Nottingham to come to all these events.
And just to piggyback off that, Steve, it's a great opportunity for the community to come together. So I encourage everybody at home who's listening, get the word out about next Sunday for the pancake breakfast, because it's a great event for the community to come
We'll
together.
take attendance.
Yep. I'll hold you to it, Steve.
We'll give you a special price for selectmen. And it's considered bribing officials.
Thanks, Steve. No other business? No.
I need like a 2-minute non-public.
All right, we're gonna go in the non-public under,
91A32A.
all right, somebody wanna make a motion?
Make a motion to go into Nottingham, to non-public 91
32A.
32A.
Second. Beat me to it.
Okay, so we have a motion made by Tim DeBrio, seconded by Matt Sherlin to go in non-public. Roll call.
Aye, Steve Welch.
I've been Bartlett.
Hi, Tim DeBrio.
I'm at Sherlin.
Upon which time we completed our non-public session, we'll come out and adjourn the meeting and seal the minutes. Thank you, Nottingham. Have a good night.